All right. Test.
Test.
Call it again.
Convincing idiots.
Convincing idiots.
Called it ham gravy.
I informed them that I sided with the stat man, not just anyone's opinion, the stat man Brian Fisher.
These kids today.
Jingle All the Way is in fact the best Christmas movie of all time.
I need to get Grandma a present, and my herpes is flaring up. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, yo, yo. I'm the Millennial
We're
Santa.
three friends representing three different generations. That's our whole shtick. That's our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nick got the whole poop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in the sea
Caucasian.
breeze, holding a turd, just mightily. I'm just going hitting hats.
Anyway, on a lighter
Three,
note,
2.
And welcome back to Convincing Idiots.
Oh,
I am a millennial, I think, and my name is Nick. And with me are my friends Gen X Brian and the nightmare-inducing golden head of Zennial Dean. If you're watching on YouTube, it also could be Marilyn Manson. We're not entirely sure. I don't remember what we're doing here or what we're supposed to be doing. I think
Please go onto YouTube and watch this just for that moment.
yeah,
it's yeah.
wow.
It's like a plot from a horror movie. Nick,
Mhm.
Yeah,
sort of
It
waking up
creeps
and seeing
Carter
that
out.
golden head.
of course it fucking does.
I
A,
actually
it's
put it on
creepy,
his-
and B, he's a child.
I put it on his nightstand so he wakes up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I tickle his feet to wake him up, so he wakes up and it's right to his nose. Some call me, the greatest parent in the world, is a strong title, but, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah.
Scarring my child is fun mentally.
Mhm.
Yep.
At
I will
least
be
I do
sure
it
that
on
my
purpose.
child will never sleep alone again.
Other parents, scar their child naturally, and it happens throughout the course of time and just the way the upbringing is. I
Yep.
figure if I do it right up front and mean it,
Yeah,
I can control the narrative.
you're
So-
the kind of dad that like there are no bones about what I'm doing here. What I'm here
Mhm.
to fuck your
Mhm.
shit up
That's right.
forever.
That's right.
That's right.
Laying the groundwork.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
And now hopefully I fucked you two up and life can be going as usual.
Well,
There you
it's
go.
been what 11, 12 years now. So yeah,
Mhm.
pretty thoroughly scarred at this point. Yeah.
And now
Mhm.
that's just the
Now
topper.
yeah, you keep raising the bar.
I am sneaking into your room and I'm gonna lay on one side and put the head on the other. That way, no matter
Uh-huh.
where you wake up,
Where- There's nowhere to turn.
and nowhere to turn.
That's
You
right.
are a Dean sandwich.
That's right.
I guess there's nothing to do now but cry and jerk off. I don't know what else to do. I guess I might as well submit to his will and give him what he wants.
What is different from any other Christmas party we've been to? And it's-
So anyway, there's no good segue into this, really. There isn't. But
Okay, so we did have, as I mentioned in the first segment, we did have another iconic pop culture figure pass away over the weekend. So Neal Adams was a comic book legend. He passed away at age 80.
he will definitely be missed by his family.
Oh God. Okay. That was a weak Adams Family joke, everybody. So he had
I'm pretty
he
proud
had,
of it. I don't care.
Yep.
you can fuck off. I don't care. I like it. You and the listeners can all go fuck yourselves. I like what I'm doing.
Can we get the bus head in here? As a stand-in, everybody. Yeah.
Full heel turn today for Dean.
Yeah.
He brought his own
Yep.
gold bus, and he's like, "I'm going for broke today."
I won't be here next week, but this will just be on the camera.
You know what? If there's ever an episode you can't make it, we're just gonna put that fucking thing on the camera.
We're just
That's
putting it up.
Don't say a word, nothing. That's just gonna be there the whole time.
Or
Nick and I are
I
talking.
could, because I'm on mic, I could just put it like the camera on there the whole time. You won't even see me. It's just that,
I like
Yeah.
and you hear my voice.
that. You're close.
Okay.
You're close. We'll keep working it.
Let's do that, but with less microphone.
Less voice.
We,
Let's do exactly that, but without the microphone. Just a
That's
thought.
right. That's right. All right. We're trying to
just
honor
gonna-
a dead man. All right.
Yeah, I know. My fucking ego.
Mm-hmm.
You assholes
All right.
just destroyed.
All right. So Neal Adams was a iconic comic book artist. He had three children who actually all also went into comic book artwork. But if you don't know
Yeah.
his name, you definitely know his work. As a matter of fact, so I'm on camera. I'm wearing it now, but this is a Neal Adams cover of Batman. It's one of the most iconic Batman covers that was ever drawn, in my opinion. It's a huge one with the Joker holding Batman on a playing card, and Joker's kind of towering over it. Just look him up. Look up Neal Adams covers, and that will be probably the first one that pops up on your feed. And he just definitely changed the whole tone of how these comic book characters were drawn. They had a more realistic look to them. They were beaten up in the comics. They had injuries. They looked real. He just definitely set the tone. So again, if you, for me as a kid growing
So it's
up,
kind of like if Neal Adams would have drawn you.
sure, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, little grizzled
Weathered,
and beaten
beaten
up,
up,
weathered. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Especially after trying to get through this podcast with you motherfuckers. No, but me as a kid picking up some DC comics as a young boy, it was Neal Adams for the most
Chisels
part. It
and
was
tablets.
that's how I picture.
Picking it up took a lot, actually. It was very heavy.
Made
No,
of
but
stone.
the blue and gray Batman that looked mean. That was Neal Adams, and then he did various DC characters, Superman. We talked about this, I think, on a recent episode, but that weird Superman Muhammad Ali crossover, that big cover with Superman boxing Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm talking
Dean
Oh, I
has
didn't know
that.
he did that. Yeah,
Does
I would
you
Yes.
have that, don't you?
If I knew that was him, I would have brought that to show. But yeah,
Yes, that was Neal Adams. He did the artwork there, and he went on to Marvel Comics as well. He did X-Men work, but I'm going to hold up here on the panel here, but just that's to me that's Batman, the dark, mean
Night.
looking Batman. There's a very cool Two-Face here, and and the Joker, his portrayal of the Joker definitely took that to another level in the 70s as well. He did like the long face, like the crazy looking Joker. So it definitely made his mark on the comic book industry. I'm sure, well, like me, I was a young kid, and just that's one of the things that gravitates you to comics to begin with, is like you know the heroes kind of, but the covers, the artwork, those are the things that drew you into picking up that issue and checking it out. And his artwork definitely inspired me to pick up different comics of my time. I became a comic book fan, got into Superman. The movies came out. It just takes your interest to a whole other level. So I don't know if you guys are that familiar with his stuff, but if you are, you have any comment on Mr. Adams?
I'm sure I am very familiar. When you're showing those pictures there, and I've seen that cover that you have on your shirt. And I think a lot of the reprints that you see of classic Batman comics are his artwork.
Sure.
So it's even if you don't necessarily, if you're not the biggest comic book fan, or
you've seen it somewhere.
You've probably seen
Yes.
a lot more than you realize. You just don't know it's him. But definitely, iconic illustrations of Batman and the characters.
He's actually did it. There's another. I didn't realize it existed. So but he did this cover here. He did the opposite. So there's one of Batman laughing with the Joker on a playing card on a Joker.
Okay, I've
comic
seen that
book as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Another comic book cover or shirt?
it was a cover, another comic book cover
Okay.
that he did. He kind of reversed
So like
the
an
roles,
alternate
so.
cover or something.
It was actually Joker has his own series, and he made a cover for the Joker comic book series.
But you should do that. You should
With
you should look that up and see if you could find like a blue Batman shirt. You know what I mean? Like that opposite cover for that.
That would be cool.
Quick shout out to there's a brand called Heroes and Villains. I don't know if you guys are familiar or not.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
they have a lot, and they always really celebrate a lot of different artists and things like that, comic book artists.
Okay.
and they've got a collection that is solely like Joker, Batman, that kind of stuff. There's
Sweet.
one of the Joker it's the Joker in the bat suit or whatever, like laughing, and it's got like the little bat logos made up of the ha-has.
yeah.
They've got some really cool designs on there and stuff. I've bought some things from them in the past. I've got a couple Venom shirts from them and a Todd Mcfarlane illustration shirt and things like that. So they have really nice stuff. But
all right, so
but
let's keep going on
heroes,
that. So,
but it's Heroes and Villains. Is the site.
Heroes and Villains is the name
And
of
if
the
they
website.
ever want to
Star Wars
get a hold of us,
stuff,
if they want to advertise,
absolutely.
we'd be 100% willing to do that, because there's an equal amount of heroes and villains on this podcast here.
That is very true. They could even make a shirt collection just of us.
sure.
Yeah,
That's
me
right.
being the hero and you two, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Sure.
Be a big picture of Dean, like as a Joker role here, with Nick and I kind of falling off the playing card or something. Yep.
I have been told I have devilishly good ad reads.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
That's
All
right.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So you mentioned other illustrations. All that. When we
Puns, however, not so great.
This guy. Sorry, Brian.
that's okay. That's all right. So
He says
We
it's
thought
okay,
we-
but it's not.
we're gonna have words after this episode, young man. So you and that weird bust head of yours.
He's the one that interrupted you. I didn't. I was sitting here laughing at him.
All right, so we thought we'd talk about some other comic book artists that we enjoy, and kind of give our own personal Mount Rushmore. If you have 4 or 5 artists that you enjoy his or her work over the years, and just others that you enjoy. If there's a particular storyline or graphic novel that caught your eye because of the artwork in particular, what was that? Who drew it? Just anything you want to talk about as far as some of your favorite comic artists in honor of the memory of Neal Adams this week. So that's what we're getting into here. So go ahead, Dean.
Well, I wanted to kick it off because
Sure.
you two are more versed in comic book and graphic novels. To be honest, I've never read a graphic novel in my life.
Or
right,
an ungraphic novel.
Or a novel. I mean, yeah. But seriously, I've read a handful of comic books. I never subscribed to them or went to get the next series and episodes or whatever. But I'm aware, and there is a few that I'm versed in, like Superman. They're Superman is dead. To me, I got that. I honestly, I don't remember what year it came out, but the original Superman is Dead cover with the cape draped over the piece of wood standing in the bricks or rubble. I got that for Christmas. It was in my stocking one year. I came down and it's one of those things that I wouldn't even thought to ask for. I knew it was coming out. I've been talking about it. That it's in the newspapers. It's all coming out that Superman's going to die. And here it was. And I remember that sickening feeling, like opening it, because you're knowing, hell, the cover is telling you what happens. So that sickening feeling, it's a comic book, yeah, but it's Superman. It's the fucking icon, and you're reading it and watching each panel until he dies. It was a weird feeling. I'd never had that feeling when it came to a comic. Or I mean, there's one time when Garfield kicked Odie off the counter, and I had that feeling in my stomach. But other than that, I'd never had that the visceral feeling reading anything, let alone a comic book. So that's my opus, so to speak. Are we going to do Mount
Was it 93?
Rushmores?
That was 93.
93, okay. So I'd have been around 12 or whatever.
Yep.
Are we doing
and there
Mount
it is.
Rushmore? Yes, there it is. That's
Nice.
That's up with the other Superman versus Muhammad Ali up in my room there. Are we
There you
doing the about Mount Rushmore?
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Okay.
So go give your yes.
My Mount Rushmore of comic book artists. in no particular order, I have Joe Schuster, who is the co-creator of Superman. Bill Finger, the luckily, if you've ever seen, it's on Netflix. But
Hulu, I think.
Hulu, okay.
Hulu, yes.
But it's Batman and Bill, or Bill and Batman. It is the story of Bill Finger being the co-creator and everybody finding this out, who had been kind of tucked away, and he died poor, and it's a sad story. But he is now officially, if you see anything that's Batman, TV, movies, or whatever, his name is now on there. Luckily, thankfully.
It was on The Batman. I looked for it, and I saw it right in there. It sticks out to me since I watched that documentary. I'm like,
right.
Bill Finger.
It's a great documentary.
Yep.
But Bill Finger's on there for me just for that reason. I have Stan Lee, obviously. Come on.
Is he an artist?
He was to a certain extent. But I mean, if you're doing comic book, I mean, again, it's subjective. This is my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Do your own. Anyone can criticize me.
Brian goes, Stan Lee does not get on those.
Get the fuck out of here.
Didn't draw shit. Nope.
Who'd he ever draw?
I'm sure he must have drawn
comic
something.
book icons, yes, but I don't know if he was a physical artist.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on mine. But he was a creator, and I don't know if.
Fine. Let's scratch Stan Lee here.
Well, we can't
Stan
say.
Lee
I don't know for a fact he didn't draw anything.
I don't either.
It's fine. Just go ahead.
All right,
fine.
So Stanley, I had a backup to replace, but I will replace him. So Stanley's out. I'm putting Jack Kirby though.
Yes.
Jack Kirby, who alongside Stanley created some of the most iconic Marvel, and even he worked for DC for a while.
That's right.
So Jack Kirby, and then I have. I may have mentioned him earlier, but I have Jim Davis, who's the creator of Garfield. When you guys said comics, you didn't say comic strips, comic books.
Yep, that's true.
Sure.
So to me, Jim Davis, and then my backup, because I thought it was fun, and I found him in doing some of this research, Wesley Moores. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he is the artist and creator of the Bazooka Joe comic books, the old school bubblegum we used to eat.
All right.
And chew. And he is the artist and creator of Bazooka Joe. So
Dean is representing comics across all platforms, newspapers, comic books, and bubblegum wrappers.
I do not discriminate. So that is my Mount Rushmore.
Okay. Nick, what do you got?
Well, I stuck to the assignment. I went with comic books. I followed the directions. And so...
Gold star for Millennial Nick. Thank you.
Why don't you give you a goddamn room?
Now, kind of like what Dean said. I mean, as much as I appreciate comic book culture and these characters and things like that, there aren't a lot of illustrators and things like that I've been super familiar with, or that I'm that I could name off a lot. So I stuck with the ones that were kind of important to me. I really only have three. First and foremost, my personal favorite, Todd Mcfarlane, the Todd Father, co-creator he had a hand in creating two of my favorite comic characters ever. He was a co-creator of Venom and sole creator of Spawn, which is the longest running comic series comic book ever. Yeah,
That can't be right.
It is. He because
wait a minute. It's not been. Wait a minute.
Superman started in 1920 something.
The same one doesn't keep going. That's the thing, is they close them and they start anew. Not saying the character is the longest, but the book. It's the longest running book in comic book history.
So it's
issue number 200
story.
Because it started. Yeah, issue 1 started in 92 and it's still running to this day. They're up to they're close to 300 and some now. So
cheating, but
it's not cheating. It's semantics. It's never stopped. But anyway, yes. So Todd McFarlane, I could really do a whole episode probably talking about him, what his work has meant to me. I love his style. he started working. I'll make it brief as I can. He started working at DC. He took over as an illustrator for the Amazing Spider-Man, and was co-creator of Venom, as I had mentioned. The black suit for Spider-Man, and just his style. He was the first one to kind of make a lot of intricate changes to the webbing. It was less just like a tube. It was, it had different things spiraling around it, and really went into great detail. Definitely had a darker image to some of his characters, as could be seen in Venom, and then later, Carnage, which was not a creation of his, but definitely that style was mimicked on Carnage. And if you're familiar with the Spawn comics, you're familiar with the characters, and the Violator, definitely different, darker. I don't really know how to really explain his style. It just always stuck out to me. He also, later as I was a kid,
Because your
like
soul is dark.
it's right, very dark. It seemed like all the comics that I was exposed to or that were around in that time, he had his hand in somehow or some way, whether it was Spider-Man, Spawn, or Brian, do you recall the Kiss comic book series, Psycho Circus, that was the Todd McFarlane? He's had his hand in a lot of great pop culture things. I say if I could live anybody's life that is not someone directly in like a sport or a musician that I admire, whatever, it would have to be Todd McFarlane. I mean, between the comics, and then he's dabbled in, he's made music videos for various bands like Pearl Jam, Disturbed. He's done music videos and things like that. The figures are all around me in this room. With the sports figures and the Spawn toys and all these things that he's created, and he still does to this day with McFarlane toys. So Todd McFarlane is definitely number one, first and foremost on mine. I also wrote down,
Let me add there too. Sorry, he in his own right had some of the best, even to this day, in my opinion, some of the best Marvel covers of all time. Todd McFarlane. So
this one that's depicted in it's over my shoulder here. It's they've created a Funko comic moment of it. It was Venom, leering over top of Spider-Man. That's one of the classic covers, and I love that. And he's the classic Amazing Spider-Man 300, where Spider-Man is in the black suit. So yeah, just definitely iconic covers from Todd McFarlane.
One of Wolverine as well. So Wolverine has his spikes up, and he's yelling, and in the reflection of the spikes is the Hulk coming at Wolverine. That was a big battle they had.
That's awesome.
So very, very cool stuff. Very, very talented. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. No, you're good. Yeah. But I also wrote down a Batman illustrator. The way you kind of described, growing up and seeing these iconic covers. For me, when I was a kid, a lot of them were the Frank Miller Batman. So I have Frank Miller down. I actually have a hardbound book that is a collection of Frank Miller Batman issues and things like that. So I liked his work. I thought that kind of a lot of similar things that you had mentioned just about Frank Miller, the way his style really stood out to me. It's the way I think I kind of see comic Batman, probably because that's what it was when I was growing up. But definitely like his style. And to tie into Todd, there was a couple Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane Batman Spawn crossover comic issues that I have actually sitting on my shelf over there too. That was pretty cool. And each one of them did a cover. So and you can totally tell by their style which one is which. Which one Frank Miller drew and which one Todd McFarlane drew. So I like Frank Miller, and I liked his style. And then third of all, aside from the traditional comic book characters that I grew up with, there is one specific that holds a very special place in my heart, and in other places. When I was growing up, I would have to give thanks to a gentleman by the name of Brian Polito. Polito, I believe, is how his last name is pronounced. He is the creator and part illustrator of Lady Death from Chaos Comics. Lady Death, if you are not familiar, was, I guess, Semi-Pie was an independent comic company. She first appeared in another independent comic called She appeared in one of the Evil Ernie comics, and she's, as a young boy growing up, kind of some of my first dabblings in what kinds of things I was interested in the female form, I believe was originated by Lady Death. I blame a lot of my preferences, the things that I like about women on Lady Death. If you look up an illustration of her, you will see what I'm talking about. Yes, she had everything, and it was wonderful. There were no limits. It was limitless. Yeah, but I had to look him up. I mean, I didn't know him by name, but I searched him up because I was like, if we're talking about illustrations and we're talking about an artwork that you admired, well, Lady Death was definitely illustration that I very much admired. So that's it. Those are my three. Brian,
right.
who was on
Very
your
good.
Mount Rushmore?
Very good. Yeah. I've got in no particular order. So I have Neal Adams. So just again, just his influence. We talked about that already. So again, I liked his work, and again, as a kid reading DC comics, and that really got my start as a comic book fan. Was reading the original DC, and it kind of went into Marvel and Spider-Man from there. So we've talked about this in prior episodes as well. But as you are, Nick, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. So as a kid, the main comic that I collected for many, many, many years was Spider-Man. So he definitely had a lot of iconic artists that drew him over the years, including one on my list here, John Romita Sr. He was actually a co-creator of a couple major characters, Doctor Strange, as mentioned, you just saw the movie, and the Punisher. But John drew Spider-Man for many years, and John was instrumental in, he actually designed the look of Mary Jane Watson. So that panel, that famous panel, have you ever seen that before? Where, face a tiger, you just hit the jackpot when Peter Parker comes face to face with Mary Jane for the first time. I believe that was John Romita Sr. that drew that. This guy was more in the 90s. I just thought his work was incredible. And if you read comics in the 90s at all, Marvel Comics, you definitely knew his work. Jim Lee. So Jim Lee his style was, again, not unlike Todd McFarlane, just different. He did a lot of work on the X-Men. So I thought that if you knew the X-Men comics at all in the 90s, it was Jim Lee's interpretation of them. So just again, crisp, cool, very good work. Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko was the creator.
He was going to be on mine.
Yeah, Steve Ditko created Spider-Man with Stan Lee. So the very first Amazing Spider-Man drawings was Steve Ditko. Did a lot of, again, just a lot of instrumental work for Marvel Comics back in the day. Let's see here. He co-created. I should misspoke. He co-created Doctor Strange. Steve Ditko. I misspoke. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. He co-created. So, all those classic 60s, 70s, not 70s, but 60s Spider-Man. That was Steve Ditko for the most part, drawing him for many, many years. And Gene, you already mentioned it too, Jack King Kirby. So the 1960s Marvel Comics look like the Fantastic Four, and that style of the 60s was Jack King Kirby. Marvel Comics flat out would not be around if not for artists like Jack King Kirby and Steve Ditko and those guys with the creative talent of Stan Lee, as you mentioned there. So that's it. Those guys built the foundation of Marvel Comics, flat out, no question about it. So that's what I got. Other guys on my list, it's just that that just some of the betters. I also have Todd McFarlane as kind of an honorable mention for me. He just didn't have as long of a body of work in Marvel, especially to make my. Spawn was an interesting character. I didn't travel over and start buying up Spawn. I stuck with Spider-Man and my guys I collected for many years. But John Romita Jr., so he has his own unique style, the son of John Romita Sr., and he's still doing, as a matter of fact, they've just rebooted the Amazing Spider-Man series, which I haven't received yet, but I ordered them through Westfield Comics, Nick, and John Romita Jr. is coming back to draw Spider-Man again. He drew him for many years, and the Punisher and some other characters for many years, so they brought him back. And there's other guys that are instrumental. Will Eisner He drew the Spirit comics. They made a movie of the Spirit years ago, but he was definitely very influential in the comic book world. As a matter of fact, there's a award for best comic book artistry, the Will Eisner Award of some sort that some of these guys have won, newer guys have won over the years as well. So that's what I got. Other guys I do have that did particular
Honorable mentions.
storylines. Yeah. So do you have any other? I have a few here, but do you have any particular books or storylines or anything that caught your eye in particular that maybe the artist didn't make your Mount Rushmore, if you will, but just the art in the comic was impressive to you? Do you have anything like that or not so much?
I like the. I mean, it's kind of more recent, and I hadn't thought about it in advance. But we talked about a little while ago, Brian, the Spider's Shadow series. I'm not even sure who drew, who was the illustrator of that, but I thought that had kind of a cool style. It was, a little bit, I don't know, different. I liked the close-up shots of Peter's face and stuff like that, and the line work and stuff like that. I thought it was just kind of interesting. It was kind of like loose. It was almost messy in some ways.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure who it was even, but that was a limited run. Was it 4 issues, 5 issues? But that was pretty good. I like that.
For me, I don't remember what year it was. I mean, I'm bad with the years, like when it comes to this. But all I remember, how cool it was, and kind of like, again, that visceral feeling that I had, like, when the death of Superman. I don't remember the title, but I remember Garfield was wanting to send Nermal to Abu Dhabi, and he put her in a box. And fuck, I'm hold on. All right, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Nermal, poor Nermal.
I know, right?
So sweet.
That was touching, but that hit me in the feels. That hit me in the feels. What about you, Brian?
Let's see, I got a few other ones here. Frank Miller, that you mentioned already, Nick. So the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel.
Yeah.
They made an animated version of it a few years back. I think you could rent that on Amazon. I think you could watch that maybe on HBO Max. I'm not sure, but the graphic novel is incredible. It's a story of Batman coming out of retirement in his mid 50s. So Commissioner
I remember you telling me
Gordon,
about that.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon is retiring in his 80s or whatever it is, and when Batman comes out of retirement, so does some of his villains, and it's just a different world. Obviously,
so it's
he's older.
Joker, older Penguin, or yada yada.
Yep.
Huh. Okay,
so
that's interesting.
I just ordered a used copy through thriftbooks.com, by the way, out there. In very good condition for like $12, something like that, shipped. But that style of Batman, that older, grittier Batman, that's what they base the Ben Affleck version of Batman on in the Justice. As a matter of fact, he's got the same bat. Ben Affleck's
symbol.
Bat is the same symbol worn by Batman in The Dark Knight Returns as drawn by Frank Miller. So
that's cool.
Brian Bolland drew The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is probably the darkest Joker story that maybe exists. And I read, which I did not realize, but when Heath Ledger was studying for his role of the Joker in the Dark Knight movie, he had a copy of that Killing Joke, and his whole look, because in this version, the Joker definitely looks absolutely crazy. It tells the backstory of the Joker, which is very interesting as well. It starts out as a normal guy. You get to see what the Joker looks like before he became the Joker in this graphic novel. And he's like a fledgling stand-up comic, and he loses his mind. And when he snaps, just the Joker's, just the eyes, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Look that up. I have a copy of it. Matter of fact, original copy. Incredible artwork and definitely influential. You were going to say something about that, Nick?
That actually, what I was talking about, the heroes and villains collection, with that it's the Killing Joke. That there's a whole section on their website. If you go into the Batman tab, there's a Killing Joke, and there's different shirts and hats and things like that. That's just, it says the Killing Joke. That's when you said it, the light went off. Yep, that was it.
You can look it up. You've seen the picture, but that picture of the Joker was his hand on his hair, and just it says just repeated ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
That's Brian Bolland's terrific artwork there.
Cool.
Steve Gibbons, one of the arguably the greatest graphic novel of all time.
How deep is your love? How deep is your right? No. Oh, sorry.
He drew The Watchmen. So again, one of the greatest, like I said, the graphic novels of all time. A very dark version of superheroes in the future. They made the movie on it, based on the graphic novel. But the artwork in this thing is stellar, gritty, dark, realistic. And I mentioned this even on the recent episode. Kingdom Come graphic novel, the futuristic DC heroes where Superman is kind of went into hiding. The whole thing's kind of a painted.
Did you say you had that one, though?
Alex Ross. Yes, I'm going to let you borrow that.
Yeah,
You're going to read your first graphic novel.
I will. Yes, absolutely.
Alex Ross drew that, and then just another guy. He did some comics. He, but for many years he was an artist in Cracked magazine. John Severin. He drew, it was comic was the Howling Commandos, the Captain America, with the Howling Commandos in a Captain America movie teamed up with Captain America. You might remember, but John Severin, it was a cartoonish but very super real. He drew for Cracked magazine in the 70s. So me reading Cracked and Mad magazine for all those years. John Severin's artwork etched in my brain for all time. I could picture almost any 70s iconic,
Did
Happy
he do
Days,
Alfred
Star Wars? No, that wasn't him. That was Bad Magazine was different. This is Cracked magazine, which was kind of a competitor. Same type of thing, a satirical magazine, but his artwork was very real and just very interesting. So check him out, John Severin. He did comics, like I said, for many years as well. So that's what I got. Many others out there. I mean, it's so many artists out there were influential in his or her own way, even to this day. So,
and if you're an artist out there or a dead artist out there and you're listening, because ghosts listen to this too, we get the numbers. A lot of ghosts listen to this show.
Sure.
We apologize, but also remember, we're fucking idiots. So.
That was
but
very
not so
Trumpian
dumb, we don't
sounding of you.
appreciate good work. That's right.
We got the numbers. Lots of ghosts listen to the show. They love it.
Lots of ghosts. Love it. Love it.
We hear from the ghosts. They say they love it. We know they listen. We see the numbers. They're all very good. Very big in the ghost population. The ghosts really like it.
Love the ghosts.
Right, so
he's adorable.
That's right. Any other artists? Anything else you guys want to mention before we wrap this up here, guys?
I would like to shout out an artist. He's I don't know that he's necessarily hit his peak just yet, but my son Oliver's taken a recent interest in art. He's been doing a lot of drawings. I was sent a picture that he did in school the other day. They had Disney Day, and he did a picture of Mickey Mouse that he drew, and I was blown away by. I'll send it to you guys. I asked him when he came home from school, I was like, did anybody help you with that? And he's like, no. I'm like, it's really fucking good. I'll send it to you. But yeah,
see, that's gonna
really,
be a family trait, man.
Yeah. Carter does a lot of great art as well.
He's got some of this back here. He does it. You can see it, but it's half Venom, half Spider-Man. He did up here.
Nice, very cool. Very good.
Hopefully, they're much more talented than we are, Nick.
That's right.
Because I listen to this show, no talent.
No.
Carter also drew, in case you guys missed it, on the upside down cross that's hanging on the wall next to Dean. Carter drew that as well.
I mean, in reality, that is Venom. He just cut it out of the paper, so it looks like an upside down cross. That is supposed to be Venom.
Apparently, golden serial killer Buddy Hollyhead whispered it to him in his dreams in the middle of the night while he was sitting on his nightstand.
That's right.
Upside down cross.
You just wait. He's coming.
Mhm.
And then you will be.
All right, guys. So let's cheer here. All the wonderful comic book artists over the years.
Cheers to the artists who
That's
create
right.
these wonderful characters in which we love.
Without you guys out there, and ladies, of course, our love for comics wouldn't just they wouldn't be there. The comics wouldn't have existed, and your influence has kept these comics going for many years and spawned a myriad of other forms of with animated shows, TVs, movies, and everything else. So all starting with these artists. Go ahead.
If it wasn't for these artists, us three would honestly probably have a more productive hobby than doing this horse shit.
That's true. That's true. And I don't know if you meant to do this or not. I doubt you did, but if you did, it was very meta of you to tie it all back in. We talked about Iron Man and celebrating the anniversary of that. And without the portrayal of Iron Man, we have all the Marvel movies and all the properties that we have. But without the artists to draw Iron Man, we never would have had that movie. Never would. I mean, that is the very foundation. It is the artwork. So hats off to all of them.
Absolutely. Okay. Nick, I can't think of a better way to end the episode. You want to take us out, sir, please?
Absolutely. Well, much like the foundation of comic books is the art, so is the foundation of your lives.
I'm sorry.
Episode of Convincing Idiots, once again brought to you by Interrupting Dean. Yes, Dean, go ahead.
I just would be remiss because we're talking about comic books. We started with Iron Man.
Yeah.
Would it be a stretch to ask you, since Ozzy Osbourne sang a song called Iron Man, to do the outro in
Yes,
Ozzy
it would be a
Osbourne's
stretch.
voice?
That's a miraculous stretch, being that we've not mentioned Ozzy Osbourne, not only not today on today's show, but I don't think not one time in the history of this podcast.
He was in the rock. We did a rock episode where he was there.
I don't know that the three of us have ever muttered the two names Ozzy and Osbourne on this show yet. Okay, so all right.
Well, Brian actually mentions how much he's a fan of the Osbourne or the Donny Osmond all the time. So
Ozzy was on the Mount Rushmore of rock artists.
Okay.
Yes.
So in that case, I apologize. I'm clearly wrong. It's a perfect tie-in, and it makes total sense to bring up Ozzy Osbourne right now.
Of course.
So because Ozzy Osbourne did a song, the Iron Man soundtrack, here's the outro as Ozzy Osbourne. All right, so here's what you're going to do. All right, we really want you to go to all our social media sites, okay? Please feel free to go over to, it's like a shrub or something. It's like it's an internet tree. It's a tree. It's a link tree. You're going to go over to the Convincing Idiots link tree, and you're going to find all the fucking things on there. All the different, your fucking Facebook and the fucking, there's probably is it MySpace, what they call there? I don't know. You can find all of those there for you. So you can go there and subscribe and like and rate reviews. Convincing Idiots Linktree, LINKTREE, Convincing Idiots Linktree. We also have a website. That's right, we're on the World Wide Web, baby. You go to convincingidiots.wordpress.com, WORDPRESS.com. You go over there, you can like, subscribe, rate, review, all of those things. We really, really appreciate it. So for this episode of Convincing Idiots, I am the Prince of Darkness, Prince of Millennials, Nick.
I am Captain Doom. I am Neal Dean.
I'm Brian Gen X.
Have we convinced you motherfuckers to go back and listen to the Iron Man soundtrack? Cheers. Hi, this is Millennial Nick, along with Gen X Brian and Neal Dean. Hey, if you liked that video, which we really hope you did, you should like and subscribe. That would be great.